Your family can't wait around for your internet to catch up with your lifestyle. You need the mind-blowing speed you can only get with Revon Broadband Internet.
Mom? Mommy?
With speeds up to 70 megabits per second. Watch more, listen more, talk more, work more, and play more, all at the same time. Switch to Revon today and get 3 months free installation, and a chance to win a grand prize worth more than $5,000. Revon Broadband Internet. What are you waiting for? Join the revolution.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into MB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, 2 days after the storm, many homes on New Providence still flooded. This as Nema begins conducting assessments. Meantime, the F&M leader is criticizing Nema's and the government's response to the storm. Plus, 2 men murdered last night in separate incidents. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Paige McCartney, and MB12 starts right now. Welcome once again to MB12. A severe weather warning has been discontinued, but widespread flooding remains a challenge for many residents here in New Providence. 2 days after the storm, some residents were still unable to venture outside their homes. They're questioning why warnings weren't issued sooner and when officials will get to their damaged homes. Vonnie Toot reports.
Rainwater may have dried up in some areas, but here in Pinewood Gardens, some residents spent a second day bailing filthy water out of their flooded homes. Some of them feel NEMA officials should have sprung to action sooner.
I haven't seen anyone, okay? And my whole situation to say, but I would say for me, I don't know if they care. The only way you could combat the solution is by seeing it firsthand during the time when the actual problem is. So you get a better understanding what's need to be done. You see, so don't wait until the water dried and then you want to come and ask me why or how high it was.
In some parts of Pinewood, sewage bubbled up along the streets this morning, causing a horrible stench to fill the air. The scent was even stronger in some homes, where carpets, furniture, and clothing were soaked during the storm. Sheldon Curtis says he left his Cascarilla Street home on Tuesday and caught a bus to Yellow Elder Gardens to ride out the storm. When he returned to his home, his roof was caved in, his toilets were backed up, and his living room looked more like an indoor swimming pool.
All of new was a nice little pool. Oh, wow.
Today, his home is still flooded.
All this was water up there. All of this water. All of this water. I had water up here. All those sockets was underwater.
When NB12 visited Curtis's home, shoes were being aired out atop a car, along with a black suitcase filled with his daughter's pricey textbooks. On Jacaranda Street in the Newbold family's home, several 5-gallon water bottles were filled to the brim with rainwater, scooped up from their bedrooms.
The water was so high in here, we threw like at least about 12 to 8 buckets of water, plus jugs. And especially even the roof, where the roof is cement, how much rain it was to start like dropping out the roof. You check the roof right now. See? Check the roof.
Concrete slabs were dropping from the roof?
Yeah, a lot of concrete slabs. Sometimes one always hit my mother the other night.
Patrick Newbold says it's been especially rough in his home, where he and both his parents suffer from diabetes. 2 days after the storm, he says he still hasn't been able to go out and replace hundreds of dollars worth of medication because his car engine was flooded.
Some of the drugs and everything was dry. I mean, I'm a diabetic. That's fine. I'm a diabetic too. And right now, I ain't feeling good. I go and see my finger get swell up. I get mash the other day. Let's get a mash yesterday. See, it swell up where he's walking all through the water. It's hurting me right now. I can't even get her to go to the doctor. I ain't going nowhere since it's happened. I was walking through the water, back in front. I had to go get a room and made bread for me and my feet and 2 tender tuna for me and my mother, Daddy. I had to walk through the water. You know, and I had to walk the water to get sick because I'm a diabetic.
His mother, Lillian Newbold, says she's lost nearly half of her clothes, which were stored in black bags after they began renovating their home.
It's very, very, very bad.
Homeowners lost everything from furniture to clothing and shoes, but they say they're grateful there was no loss of life. Reporting for NB12, I'm Voining Toot.
Well, as floodwaters recede, the National Emergency Management Agency is sourcing manpower to begin assessing just how much damage Tuesday night's flooding has cost homeowners. But as Christina McNeil tells us in this next report, it may be a while before residents see some relief.
It will be at least another day before Nema can begin providing assistance and relief to homeowners in eastern New Providence affected by excessive flooding Tuesday night. Nema Director Captain Stephen Russell says teams from various agencies are being briefed this afternoon and will be ready to hit the road first thing in the morning to begin assessing hundreds of homes. Russell says Nema was rounding up a team of about 100 stakeholders from the Department of Social Services, Defense Force, and Ministry of Works to join Nema officials for assessment teams that will go street by street, home to home, assessing damage on a case-by-case basis. Russell says the more hands on deck, the quicker the process may be, but a more thorough assessment is needed following yesterday's preliminary report.
Every home that we went into, people were bailing water out of their homes in Pinewood Garden. And as long as water stands in your home on your floor for any period of time, wooden floor or concrete floor, the integrity of the floor is going to be compromised and the structure is going to be weakened somehow. So again, a professional has to go in and really do an assessment of each house. I'm not talking about the carpets and tiles, among other things, and the sheetrock in homes that have already been damaged. So we really cannot give a figure at this point in time. We have to go back now with a more comprehensive assessment, almost door to door, and seeing who have insurance, who do not have insurance, and who really needs what type of assistance.
A more thorough investigation will be carried out once the water would be receded, so we can get an accurate assessment of what the entire damage was.
Pinewood Gardens, Mount Tabor Estates, Linden Pinling Estates, and Elizabeth Estates were some of the hardest hit areas. Russell says tomorrow's assessments will include taking photos and compiling sheets of data to determine the extent of damage, but he says the entire process may take up to 1 week to complete, as nearly 1,000 homes have been affected. Meanwhile, acting chief engineer at the Ministry of Works, Bradley King, says long-term solutions to flooding in Pinewood Gardens in particular may need to be addressed. This as officials are warning members of the public to take measures to protect themselves if standing water remains in their homes.
Pinewood Gardens is Pinewood Gardens, and the geophysical nature of it is that water will always find its lowest point. And we continue to obviously there has to be some long-term issues addressing that, which I'm sure I'll be addressed in another forum. 3 to 4 inches, 5 inches of water still in persons' homes, and people are wading through the water in their homes and carrying out normal functions in the houses, switching on lights and doing other things. So I want to stress here now that persons, whoever have water in their homes, to turn off all their electrical supply systems. They're concerned as to whether the water levels are the receptacle levels. We're not concerned about that. But as long as standing water is in the homes, switch off your electrical supply from the breaker.
Residents who need assistance are urged to contact the Community Support Division of the Department of Social Services to arrange a thorough assessment of their damaged properties. Reporting for NB12, I'm Christina McNeil.
While opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis doesn't believe the government or Nema is taking the matter seriously enough and believes the Christie administration is not treating the aftermath of the storm as a national emergency. He's questioning why the government has not yet held an emergency cabinet meeting specifically to discuss the forms of assistance it will provide. He said the devastation he has viewed calls for an exigency order.
I'm surprised that the Prime Minister has not taken leadership role and called an emergency cabinet meeting, which he should have done, I think, from last night, considering the disaster in the south and the east. Call an emergency cabinet meeting, have a complete report as to what damages or some idea of assessment or damages that have occurred, and subsequently come out of that and offer some form of assistance. The assistance in terms of exigency, that is, knowing exactly what type of damage individuals had received, be it to the house, roof interior electrical damage.
The opposition leader is blaming NEMA for not issuing warnings about the storm earlier than it did and added that parliamentary sessions should have been postponed.
The Met Office claims that they had reported it in a timely fashion. If that is so, knowing the severity of it, then NEMA should have been mobilized a lot sooner. NEMA should have made a proper report to the Prime Minister. Rather than us being in Parliament yesterday, Parliament, a proper announcement to the country should have been made, and Parliament should have been suspended for that particular time, so as to deal with urgent cabinet matter to deal with that, with the information that they would have received from NEMA. None of that was done, so I think, in a nutshell, NEMA dropped the ball. They were not as aggressive as they should have been.
He said he and several F&M MPs toured the areas worst hit by Tuesday's storm and called it a national disaster.
What we saw was devastating. At this point in time, we're undergoing a recession. And you can imagine, on top of that, individuals who would have had their convenience store helping them with their lives, their convenience store, all their products completely destroyed, flooded out.
Minnis said considering the devastation, there should have already been a national address from the Prime Minister.
At least give the residents some response as to what's being done. People are suffering. Individuals are literally crying when, while showing us the effects and the results in their homes. You know what it is? One particular lady said she went to bed, she got up, and as she stepped out of her bed, she walked in 3 foot of water.
Minnis said he hopes for the sake of those struggling homeowners, the Prime Minister takes his suggestions. We do need to point out, though, that Cabinet held a special meeting to deal with budgetary and other issues today. Well, except for a small area of Yamacraw Beach Estates, the Bahamas Electricity Corporation has restored power to almost all of its customers disconnected because of Tuesday's storm. BEC says that area remains disconnected because of standing water levels, and electricity will be restored as soon as it's safe. BEC is again advising customers whose homes and businesses have been affected by water damage that they should turn off the main breaker switch and leave it off until a licensed electrician assesses the building and determines it's safe to turn the power supply on. And if you're having any other problems with your electricity, BEC says give them a call.